So, Michael, we're talking about fasting. You wrote a book called Fasting, Rediscovering the Ancient Pathways. How do you keep fasting from becoming legalism? Now, fasting in itself is not legalism, but would you agree that it could be legalistic? A person could make it that way. It could be more about performance and more about, doing this for my sake, making me feel spiritual or whatever. How do you is that possible, and how do you keep that from happening?
I would say it's possible just like any other spiritual discipline. It's easy to form any habit in our life and to all of a sudden feel maybe superior to others who are unable to keep the same habits, to feel elevated above the crowd that's not able to find the same discipline or buy-in for those habits. The guy who gets up really early every morning to spend 3 hours in prayer very easily could find that becoming legalistic. It could be more about accomplishing those 3 hours than it could the initial desire that brought him into the place of experience that had him there for 3 hours in the first place. Mm-hmm. So for me, I always have to continue examining my heart for why I'm doing what I'm doing. You take two individuals involved in the same behavior, one has the right heart, one has the wrong heart. From the outside, you can't tell who's who, but from the interior, one is doing it to prove a point to everybody around him. We don't fast because we want to be found fasting. We don't fast so that everybody else can have this spiritual idea so that we can build our resume. We're not fasting so that people can, all of a sudden give us praise and, accolades and all these types of things. We're fasting first and foremost for the experience of Jesus. The goal of fasting is not simply just to accomplish a fast. It's to experience Jesus. And if I'm fasting and it's become more about these other things, it's time for me to dial back and reevaluate the condition of my heart and to return to that love, to return to that desire, to return to that first initial longing that propelled me or compelled me into the place of fasting in the first place.
What would you say is a symptom that would tell you that your motives might be off?
If I'm fasting and I find myself wanting to tell everyone I'm fasting, if I'm fasting and I want to remind people how many fasts I've done, how long I've fasted, if I constantly want to put it into the limelight for the attention of my own spiritual feats to be known. There's a reason why in Matthew 6, Jesus said, when you fast, just put yourself together as you would every other day and just go about your own business. Like, it's not really necessary for everybody else to know that you're fasting. If the conclusion of fasting becomes more about me, I find that it's time to reevaluate. It's time to repent. It's time to get back to the basics and to return to the ground zero place with God where he invited me in the first place.